Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Understanding the development controls. Under Rules 7 and 8 of the Revised Implementing Rules and Regulations of PD number 1096, National Building Code of the Philippines.
Welcome back to another edition of our discussion for the development controls under Rule 7 and 8 of the revised IRR of the NBCP. For this video, we are going to discuss the development controls for a proposed project, which is a local city college wherein the lot is zoned as general institutional with a total lot area of 2,000 square meters. It is an inside lot with a 40-meter wide frontage facing west, and there is a 36-meter wide road at the west side of the property. Now, if we are going to check the suggested minimum lot size under table 8.G.7, for institutional, it follows the same suggested minimum lot size as for commercial 3, wherein for an inside lot, the suggested minimum lot size is 600 square meters with a dimension of 20 by 30. However, our proposed project is much bigger. We have our total lot area at 2,000 square meters. So if we are going to draw the lot, we have 40 meters by 50 meters property facing a 36 meters road. And we are going to determine the development controls, wherein we have two options for development. One option is to build without firewall. So we want to know what are the development controls for the project if the building will have no firewall, or what will be the development controls for the project if the building will have a firewall. So for the first option, wherein we have a building without firewall, the first development control is determining what is the allowable maximum building footprint, or AMBF, for the project if the building will have no firewall, and at the same time determine what is the allowable maximum percentage of site occupancy, or maximum PSO, for the project if the building will have no firewall. So our first reference for the AMBF determination is table 8.3. This is for institutional. It depends on the width of the road. So that if you have a 36 meters road, the minimum setbacks will be 8 meters at the front and 5 meters at the side and at the rear. So if we are going to make a drawing for the proposed building without firewall and using the minimum setbacks as the reference, it means that the maximum width for the building will be at 30 meters. It will be 40 minus the side setbacks minimum of 5 meters will give you the maximum width of the building at 30 meters. And for the depth of the building maximum, it will be the 50 meters depth of the lot minus the 8 meters and 5 meters front and rear setbacks minimum will give you a maximum depth of the building at 37 meters. So if we are going to multiply 30 by 37, that will give you the AMBF based on the minimum setbacks, and that will be 1,110 square meters, and its corresponding maximum PSO will be at 55.5%. So we are going to compare that value of the maximum PSO with the maximum PSO value indicated in another table, and this is table 8.1. For institutional here without firewall, it shows 50% of the total lot area. And so 50% of the total lot area will give you an AMBF of 1,000 square meters. So if we are going to compare the two possible values and get the most stringent, it means that the one that will be prevailing is based on table 8.1, wherein you have a maximum PSO of 50% and an AMBF of 1,000 square meters. So that will be now our final answer for the AMBF, most stringent, and the maximum PSO. So which means that the building may have a different setbacks other than the minimum setbacks. So the dimension therefore is not defined for the building as long as you have a maximum 50% of the TLA occupied by the building. So if we are going to determine what is the allowable minimum total open space within lot or minimum TOSL for the project, if the building will have no firewall, then basically the first thing na gagawin natin is getting the minimum total open space within lot, which will be the part of the lot or the TLA not occupied by the maximum allowable PSO. So ibig sabihin nito, yung matitirang portion after you deduct the AMBF and the maximum PSO most stringent from the TLA will result in the allowable minimum total open space within lot. So therefore, our resultant minimum TOSL will be 100% minus 50%, and that will give you a minimum TOSL of 50%, or 2,000 TLA minus the 1,000 AMBF will give you 1,000 square meters minimum TOSL. On the other hand, if we are going to check table 8.G.6, this is the minimum TOSL reference table. You will see here that inside lot, and that is for without firewall, for all classes of institutional, that will be 50% minimum TOSL or 1,000 square meters. So basically the same as what we got kanina sa una nating reference, no? Ang resultant minimum TOSL. So let us now go to the allowable minimum unpaved surface area or minimum USA for the project if the building will have no firewall. So dito, ang ating reference ay walang iba kundi yung table 8.1 lang, no? So we just look at table 8.1, nakalagay dito na institutional minimum USA without firewall will be 30% of the TLA. So therefore, our minimum USA is 30% of 2,000, and that will give you 600 square meters. At the same time, if we are going to determine the allowable minimum impervious surface area or maximum ISA for the project, if the building will have no firewall, our reference also will be the same, table 8.1. And here, institutional without firewall, maximum allowable ISA is 20% of the TLA, and that will give you a value of 400 square meters. On the other hand, if we are to compute the maximum allowable construction area or MACA for the project, if the building will have no firewall, then again, our reference ay ang table 8.1. So, bali, i-add lang natin itong nakalagay na maximum PSO dito at saka maximum ISA dito. I-add natin yung dalawang yan. That will give you the MACA value. And that will be 70% of the TLA or 1,400 square meters. So now we are going to summarize the values that we got. So ito yung AMBF natin or maximum PSO ay galing sa table 8.1. Minimum TOSL natin ay galing sa table 8.G.6. So nagtugma yung value ng maximum PSO tsaka minimum TOSL, 50 and 50 will give you 100% total. And our minimum USA is as per table 8.1, maximum ISA also table 8.1, and MACA also table 8.1. And these are the values without firewall. So we go now to the floor areas, and the first is the allowable maximum gross floor area or maximum GFA for the project if the building will have no firewall. So basically, ang ating reference dito is just the formula that the maximum GFA will be your total lot area. Just multiply it by the maximum recommended floor to lot area ratio or FLAR as per table 7.G.1. So dito makita natin na ang institutional, ang ating FLAR designated is at 2.5 FLAR. So maximum. And so that means we just multiply our TLA of 2,000 with that FLAR designated maximum of 2.5 will give you 5,000 square meters as your allowable maximum GFA. Now we go to the allowable maximum total gross floor area or maximum TGFA for the project if the building will have no firewall. So we have our first reference is table 7.1. This is the reference table for the allowable maximum total gross floor area. Table 7.1 shows for institutional inside lot is BHL times 50% of the TLA. So what will be the BHL? So we have to go to the BHL table. So accordingly, table 7.2, the BHL table shows that institutional here is 15 meters or must follow the duly approved BHL in the major zone it is part of. So since that value is in meters, we have to convert that with its equivalent number of floors or stories. And using the standard floor-to-floor height of 3 meters per floor, it means that the equivalent BHL will be at 5 floors. So therefore, our maximum TGFA will be the BHL of 5 floors times the 50% of the TLA. And so that will be 50% of 2,000 times 5 floors will give you now a maximum TGFA of 5,000 square meters. So if we are going to use the other table, 7.G.2, this is the conversion of the GFA to TGFA. The allowable maximum TGFA can be determined by multiplying whatever maximum GFA to this multiplier indicated in this table. But unfortunately, you will not see any institutional here. So which means we don't have any conversion factor for institutional. So therefore, if we are going to summarize the development controls on the floor areas of the building, our maximum GFA allowable as per table 7.G.1 will be at 5,000 square meters. And then for the maximum TGFA as per table 7.1, also our maximum TGFA is 5,000 square meters. That is without firewall. So let us now go into the second option, and that is a building with firewall. So we are to determine what is the allowable maximum building footprint for the project, as well as the allowable maximum percentage of site occupancy or maximum PSO for the project. So there is no more phrase in this question na sinasabi if the building will have no firewall. So which means you are to compute this with firewall because allowed naman ang firewall for institutional. So we check first the firewall provisions. Accordingly, ang sabi sa NBCP, the provision of a fully functional sprinkler system and the installation of other fire retardant or fire suppression devices in the case of commercial, institutional, and industrial buildings or structures may allow firewall construction for up to 70% of the total perimeter of the property lines, provided that the prescribed setbacks, yards, and courts fronting the road right-of-way are first fully complied with, and provided further that all the applicable stipulations of the fire code, particularly on the number, type, and locations of fire exits, are strictly followed. So therefore, if we are to provide a firewall here, let us check the maximum firewall length. So if we are to provide a firewall there, we are not sure how much will be the additional area because the setbacks here are not defined, because our AMBF and the maximum PSO here are not based on the minimum setbacks. So therefore, it will be difficult to determine what will be this additional area. So in this case, wherein the maximum PSO without firewall is based on the table 8.1, not on the minimum setbacks, when we determine the value without firewall, we also have to make use of the same table. So kanina, ang ating value sa without firewall is 50% of the TLA coming from this table 8.1. So therefore, if we are to determine the value of our maximum PSO with firewall, it means we only have to follow the same table. 60% will be our maximum PSO. So maximum PSO therefore is 60% of the TLA, and that will give you an AMBF of 1,200 square meters. And so our minimum TOSL will be 40%. So let us check now for the minimum TOSL. So, but before that, our final answer for the maximum PSO is 60%, and our AMBF is 1,200 square meters. So we now determine the allowable minimum total open space within lot, or minimum TOSL for the project, using table 8.G.6. And let us check whether the one in table 8.1 na 40% kanina will be the same. So here, inside lot, with firewall, it shows that for all institutional is also 40%. So nagparehas, no? Yung nasa table 8.1 tsaka dito sa table 8.G.6. So therefore, our minimum TOSL will be 40% of the TLA, or 800 square meters. Now we compute the allowable minimum unpaved surface area, or minimum USA, for the project. Again, for this one, for the minimum USA, our reference always will be table 8.1. So kung nakalagay dito, institutional minimum USA with firewall is 20% of your TLA na 2,000. No? So therefore, our minimum USA is 400 square meters. Now let us go to the allowable maximum impervious surface area, or maximum ISA for the project. Again, our reference is table 8.1. Institutional with firewall here, maximum ISA is 20% of the TLA, same as the minimum USA kanina. So that will be at 400 square meters. Now for the maximum allowable construction area, or MACA, for the project, again that is table 8.1. We only have to add this value of the maximum PSO and the maximum ISA together. That will give you the MACA of 80% of the TLA, or that will be 1,600 square meters. So this is now our final values. AMBF is 1,200, maximum PSO is 60% based on table 8.1. Our minimum TOSL is 800 square meters, or 40%. So nag-jibe yung dalawa for a total of 100%. No? And our minimum USA, this one, 40%, is also the same as the one in table 8.1. So therefore, this one, minimum USA, maximum ISA, and MACA are all from table 8.1 also. Kaya ito, minimum USA, maximum ISA, when you add these two, will be your minimum TOSL of 40%. Nag-jibe yan kasi galing lang sa table 8.1 at nagparehas naman yung minimum TOSL na galing sa table 8.G.6 doon sa minimum TOSL ng table 8.1 din. No? So let us go to the maximum gross floor area for the project. This is with firewall. Ang ating formula is again our maximum GFA will be your TLA times the maximum recommended floor to lot area ratio. And you will see again here that whether my firewall or wala, your values will be the same because our FLAR for institutional still 2.5. No? And so our maximum GFA, the same as kanina without firewall, is at 5,000 square meters. And then for the allowable, maximum total gross floor area or maximum TGFA for the project, referring to table 7.1 for the allowable maximum total gross floor area, here institutional with firewall is now BHL times 60% of the TLA. So again, same as kanina, our BHL as per the table for the BHL, table 7.2, 15 meters has to be converted to its equivalent number of floors. So therefore, it will be 5 floors. Our maximum TGFA will be 5 floors, our BHL times 60% of your TLA. And so, our maximum GFA will be 5 floors times 60% of 2,000 or 6,000 square meters. And so now, these are our final values. Maximum GFA as per table 7.G.1 is 5,000, similar as the one for the building without firewall. Your maximum GFA will not matter whether with firewall or no firewall. Now for the maximum TGFA as per table 7.1, this is now our value for the maximum TGFA with firewall, already 6,000 compared kanina sa without firewall na 5,000 lang, no? Ang ating maximum TGFA. Kaya ito yung comparison natin. So ano pagkakaiba? So, syempre dito, sa maximum PSO, mas malaki yung my firewall. Our minimum TOSL, pag may firewall, mas maliit syempre ang minimum TOSL. So, dito, nagparehas ang maximum ISA with or without firewall. And your MACA here, na may firewall, medyo mas malaki. Ang max GFA natin, with firewall or no firewall, is the same. However, ang maximum TGFA natin, ang without firewall, versus sa may firewall, mas malaki yung merong firewall na maximum TGFA. Kasi nga, mas malaki yung AMBF natin doon sa may firewall. So, that's it for this simple project for an institutional, in an institutional zone. So watch out for my succeeding videos. I will be discussing commercial and industrial and some other residential projects.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. For a more comprehensive study on rules 7 and 8 of the revised IR of the NBCP, please enroll at Atlas CDC Review. Email us at atlascdcreview@gmail.com, or you may join us at our FB group page, www.facebook.com/groups/ALA Review.